Husband shames wife over her body. What she does next leaves him stunned. It was a sunny Saturday afternoon when Karen and Owen exchanged vows under a white flower arch on the beach. Owen, with his captivating smile and confident gaze, appeared to be the perfect man in the eyes of all who attended. Karen, dressed in an elegant lace gown, radiated happiness. They were the picture of a happy and loving couple. In the first months after their wedding, Karen and Owen's life seemed like a fairy tale. Owen, an executive at a tech company, was successful and respected by his peers. Karen, on the other hand, worked as a graphic designer and found joy in the creativity of her work. Together, they shared romantic dinners, short weekend trips, and long conversations about dreams and future plans. However, as the months passed, Owen began to show a different side. At first, it was just light comments about Karen's clothing or subtle suggestions about menu choices that should be healthier. Karen noticed these changes, but chose to see these criticisms as care, not control. One evening during a dinner with friends, Owen joked about Karen choosing a dessert. "Look at that, Karen always finds room for a little sweet treat, even after a full meal." He laughed, encouraging others to join in. Karen smiled awkwardly, but inside, she felt a stab of pain. It was the first clear sign that something was not right. As these incidents became more frequent, Karen's friends began to notice a change in her behavior. She, who had always been outgoing and vibrant, seemed more withdrawn. Her friends, concerned, tried to approach the subject delicately, but Karen deflected, still not ready to admit that the charming man she had married was slowly undermining her self-esteem. As the second year of marriage progressed, Owen's criticisms became more frequent and less veiled. Karen began to feel increasingly uncomfortable in her own skin, especially when Owen made comments about her weight in front of friends or family. One Sunday afternoon, during a barbecue hosted at the couple's home, Owen commented loudly enough for some guests to hear, "Karen, do you really need another serving? Remember your commitment to staying in shape." The comment, made under the guise of concern, was clearly derogatory. The guests exchanged uncomfortable glances, while Karen forced a smile, her face flushing with embarrassment. These episodes began to leave deeper scars on Karen. She would look in the mirror and no longer see the vibrant, confident woman she once was. Instead, she saw someone insecure, someone who was starting to believe her husband's cutting words. Karen withdrew from her favorite activities, such as going to the gym and attending painting classes, because Owen insinuated that these efforts were pointless. Karen's relationship with her friends and family also suffered. She became more reclusive, avoiding social events to not have to face Owen's remarks. Her best friend, Leah, began to notice this drastic change. During a coffee they had together, Leah directly questioned Karen. "What's going on? You're not the same anymore. Does Owen have something to do with this?" Karen tried to hide it, but the tears in her eyes betrayed her true situation. She confided in how she felt diminished and controlled. Leah listened attentively and offered her unconditional support. "You don't deserve to be treated like this, Karen. Owen has no right to make you feel inferior," Leah advised, emphasizing that Karen needed to seriously consider what she wanted for her life. Owen's criticisms were not limited to Karen's physique. He also began to scorn her professional decisions and opinions during conversations with friends, further undermining her confidence. This constant devaluation began to make Karen question her worth, not just as a wife, but as a person. As the relationship deteriorated, the atmosphere at home became tense and uncomfortable. Owen spent more and more time away from home, avoiding conversations and alone time with Karen. She, in turn, felt increasingly isolated and unhappy, trapped in a marriage that felt more like an emotional prison than a loving partnership. With these drastic changes in the way Owen treated her, Karen began to suspect there was something more. He started coming home late more frequently, always with a different excuse: overtime at work, meetings that lasted until late, unexpected encounters with friends. Each explanation seemed more forced than the last, and Karen, though she wanted to believe him, felt something was amiss. One day, while Owen was in the shower, a message beep echoed from his cell phone, which was on the kitchen table. Driven by an impulse, Karen approached and saw what she never expected. A message from a woman named Olivia, clearly intimate, arranging a meeting for the same day. The text read, "Can't wait to see you tonight, I miss you." Karen's heart froze. Confronting Owen became inevitable. That night when he came home, Karen was waiting, phone in hand. The discussion that followed was intense and painful. Owen tried to downplay the situation, claiming it was just a friendship, but Karen, armed with months of doubts and that message, was not willing to accept his excuses. "Owen, who is Olivia?" she asked, her voice trembling yet firm. Owen hesitated, his face pale. "She's just a friend, Karen, you're overreacting." He tried to defend himself, but Karen's firmness demanded the truth. "Don't treat me like a fool. I read the messages, Owen. That's not how you talk to just a friend." As the hours passed, Owen finally admitted to the affair. Karen felt a mix of relief at knowing the truth and a devastating pain of betrayal. The man she loved and shared a life with had chosen someone else. In the days that followed, Karen struggled with feelings of anger, sadness, and rejection. She thought about their attempts to conceive, always meeting resistance from Owen, and now she understood why. The betrayal wasn't just emotional, it was a blow to her dreams of a family. The weight of the reality that her marriage was broken pushed Karen to a radical decision. She could not allow her life to continue being defined by Owen's infidelity. With a mix of pain and determination, she told Owen that he needed to leave the house. This decision did not come easily. Owen tried to argue, promised to change, said the affair had been a mistake, but Karen was resolute. She needed space to breathe, to think, to reconnect with the woman she knew herself to be before her world turned upside down. In the days following the revelation of the affair, the home Karen and Owen shared became a minefield of conflicting emotions. Karen, though devastated, knew she needed to take concrete steps to rebuild her life away from the shadow of Owen's infidelity. She spent several sleepless nights pondering the future. The walls of the bedroom seemed to echo every harsh word and every lie uncovered. The decision to ask Owen to leave was not easy, but each passing day reinforced the need to distance herself from the man who had broken her trust and her heart. Owen, in turn, fluctuated between attempts at reconciliation and periods of cold indifference. He realized Karen was serious about the separation when she began to move his things to a guest room. "Karen, we can fix this. I made a mistake, but I still love you," he pleaded. But Owen's words rang hollow to Karen, who had already decided not to let him manipulate her emotions any longer. Finally, on a chilly morning, Karen faced Owen with firm resolve. "I want you to leave the house this weekend. I need space to think and to heal. Your presence here only makes it all harder," she said, her voice steady, though her hands trembled slightly. Owen, recognizing the finality in Karen's voice, agreed to leave. He spent the next few days packing his things, a process both found painfully symbolic. It was the dismantling of a life together that would never be rebuilt. The decision to separate was not just an end, but also a beginning. Karen began to realize that, although the path ahead was uncertain, it was open to possibilities that had previously seemed out of reach. After Owen's departure, Karen faced a mix of silence and freedom within the walls of her home. In the first few days, the loneliness felt overwhelming, but she soon realized that this space opened a new door for self-discovery. Determined not to let her life be defined by the failure of her marriage, Karen began to make significant changes. The first step was to resume her favorite activities, those she had set aside during her time with Owen. She re-enrolled in the local gym, not with the goal of changing her appearance to please someone, but to feel good about herself. Additionally, she resumed her painting classes, a passion that had always brought her much joy and satisfaction. As Karen immersed herself in these activities, she began to feel a renewal of energy and confidence. In every brushstroke and every step on the treadmill, she found parts of herself she thought she had lost. Over time, this new energy began to reflect in her appearance and her attitude. Karen smiled more, and her confidence was visible to all who knew her. She also sought emotional support and professional guidance, starting to attend sessions with a therapist. These meetings became crucial for Karen to understand and process not just Owen's betrayal, but also how she had allowed her own value to be undermined. "You are rebuilding not just your life, but your identity," the therapist explained, emphasizing the importance of rediscovering and valuing oneself. Karen also began to explore new ways to find joy and fulfillment. She joined a hiking group where she made new friends. Each new activity was an opportunity to learn something new about herself and the world around her. One of the most significant moments during this phase was when Karen decided to take a small solo trip, something she had never allowed herself to do before. She chose a retreat in a quiet coastal town where she spent days exploring, reflecting, and writing in a journal. This experience was crucial for her self-affirmation and personal growth. "This is me, making choices for myself, for my happiness," she wrote in her journal. As Karen advanced on her journey of self-discovery, she became more aware of her own strength and worth. The woman who once relied on a man's approval to feel valuable now found validation within herself. The change was profound and visible to all, but more importantly, it was visible and felt by Karen. As Karen embarked on her journey of self-discovery, Owen's life took a very different path. After their separation, he found himself alone, without the comfort and stability that Karen's presence had provided. His nights were often spent in bars, trying to drown his sorrows in alcohol and fleeting company, including Olivia, his mistress. Initially, Olivia seemed to be everything Owen thought was missing in his life. She was young, vibrant, and seemingly uncomplicated. However, as the months passed, Owen began to realize that his relationship with Olivia was superficial, and she did not provide the emotional support or depth that Karen had always given him. Olivia had her own interests, and unlike Karen, she was not interested in sharing a life together, but in enjoying the moment. The reality of the situation began to dawn on Owen when Olivia decided to end their relationship. She explained that she needed space to pursue other opportunities and that their relationship was becoming too serious for her liking. "Owen, you're a wonderful man, but I'm not ready for something so deep. I need to explore life on my own," she said, leaving Owen even more isolated and confused. Abandoned by Olivia, Owen was forced to face the loneliness and emptiness that his choices had created. He began to reflect on his life, the mistakes he had made, and what he truly valued. Memories of his time with Karen, though painful, brought back reminiscences of a happier and more meaningful time. This phase of introspection led Owen to seek professional help. He began attending therapy sessions, where he worked to understand his actions and motivations. Therapy was a challenging process for Owen, confronting him with truths about himself that he had long ignored or minimized. "Why did I sabotage the only relationship that really mattered?" he questioned during one of the sessions, struggling to understand his own feelings of inadequacy and fear of commitment. During this period, Owen also tried to reconnect with old friends and re-establish bonds he had neglected. He began to understand that his pursuit of external approval and validation had damaged his most significant relationships. He learned painfully that happiness and personal worth need to come from within and cannot solely depend on how others perceive him. As Karen strengthened herself on her personal journey, her life began to blossom in ways she had never imagined possible. She became more involved in her activities and projects, and her smile, which had become rare in the dark days of her marriage, was now a constant presence. Karen rediscovered the joy of living and the satisfaction of being true to herself. It was during a photography event, one of the many new activities Karen was exploring, that she met Ryan. He was a professional photographer teaching the class and had a gentle manner and a passion for art that immediately caught Karen's attention. They started discussing photographic techniques, but soon discovered they had much more in common, including a love for nature and travel. As Karen and Ryan's friendship deepened, she began to feel something she hadn't expected: the possibility of loving again. Ryan was completely different from Owen. He was attentive and, above all, respected Karen as his equal. He encouraged her in her projects and was genuinely interested in her feelings and thoughts. Over time, this friendship naturally evolved into a romance. Ryan suggested they take a trip together to photograph landscapes in the southern part of the country. During this trip, surrounded by natural beauty and away from the pressures of daily life, Karen and Ryan shared their life stories, hopes, and fears. One evening, as they watched the sunset, Ryan held Karen's hand and expressed his feelings. "Karen, being with you has been one of the most beautiful experiences of my life. I love who you are, and I'm here for whatever you need." Karen felt a wave of emotion and gratitude. Ryan had not just entered her life as a friend, he had become her partner, someone who loved her for who she was, not for who he wanted her to be. She replied with tears in her eyes, "Ryan, I feel the same way. You've shown me that love can be kind and empowering." Karen and Ryan's relationship continued to grow based on mutual respect, shared passion, and unconditional support. Together, they explored new places, shared new experiences, and built a relationship that was both reassuring and exhilarating. Karen's life was in a new, bright chapter, but an unexpected encounter with the past was about to test her strength and resolve. On a peaceful afternoon while walking in the local park, a place she had come to appreciate for the peace it offered, Karen spotted a familiar figure sitting on a bench, absent-mindedly staring at the lake. It was Owen. Initially, Karen felt a tightening in her heart. Part of her wanted to turn back and avoid confronting the painful memories that Owen represented. However, strengthened by her recent journey of personal growth and Ryan's support, she decided to face her past. Walking slowly to the bench, Karen greeted Owen with a calm yet firm voice. "Owen." He looked up, clearly surprised. "Karen, I didn't expect to see you here," he stuttered, clearly uncomfortable. They began to talk, initially with caution. Owen expressed how his life had changed since their separation. He talked about the emptiness he felt, the therapy sessions, and how he had begun to understand the serious mistakes he had made. "I really messed up, Karen. There's not a day that goes by that I don't wish I could go back and do things differently," he confessed, with a look of regret. Karen listened attentively, recognizing the sincerity in Owen's words, but maintaining an emotional distance necessary to protect her heart. She shared a bit about her own transformation, explaining how she had learned to value herself and find happiness outside the shadows of their failed marriage. Finally, Owen expressed a desire for friendship, perhaps hoping to reconnect in some way. "I know much of what was broken cannot be fixed, but I'd like to be your friend, if you'll allow it," he said, hopeful. Karen thought for a moment before responding. "Owen, I accept your apology and appreciate your sincerity. We can be friends, but with boundaries. My life has changed, and I am with someone who loves and respects me as I deserve. Ryan is an important part of my life now, she explained, firming her stance with kindness but determination. Owen nodded in understanding, seemingly relieved to have at least a fragile bridge between them. They continued talking for a few more minutes, exchanging updates about their lives and expressing wishes for happiness to each other before saying goodbye. After the encounter in the park, Karen deeply reflected on the conversation she had with Owen. She valued his sincerity and the courage to admit his mistakes, but she also knew she needed to protect the space and peace she had worked so hard to achieve. Deciding to set clear boundaries in the new friendship with Owen was essential for her to continue her journey of self-affirmation and happiness. In the days that followed, Karen and Owen exchanged a few messages, always maintaining a cordial and respectful tone. Owen respected the boundaries Karen had set, aware that any attempt to cross them could result in completely losing contact with her. He was grateful for the opportunity to at least be present in some form in Karen's life, even if just as a distant friend. Meanwhile, Karen continued to strengthen her relationship with Ryan. She shared with him details of her meeting with Owen, and Ryan showed unconditional support. "I'm here for whatever you need, Karen. I trust you and your judgment," he said, reinforcing the foundation of trust and respect that was the hallmark of their relationship. Ryan's ability to support Karen without jealousy or insecurities further strengthened their love. Karen also continued to dedicate herself to her activities and hobbies that allowed her to give back to the community that had supported her during the tough times in her life. The new balance Karen found also included moments of reflection. She attended meditation sessions and continued her visits to the therapist, which helped maintain her mental and emotional health. The importance of self-care became a central principle in her life. The story of Karen and Owen, while complex and marked by moments of pain, also became a story of growth and understanding. Karen learned to forgive, not to exonerate Owen from his faults, but to free herself from the weight of the past. If you enjoyed this story, don't forget to subscribe to the channel, give a like, and activate the notification bell so you don't miss any of our upcoming videos. Until the next story.